This Saturday, December 2nd at 7 p.m. at Westworth United Church, the Esprit Singers will be presenting a concert called And Suddenly. For those unfamiliar with the Esprit Singers, they are Manitoba's premier women's choir. They have performed in Iceland to rave reviews and have performed with some of Winnipeg's best musicians. They have also commissioned new works and arrangements from such composers as Ron Paley, David Scott, Glenn Sutherland, and Neil Weisensell. The concert And Suddenly will feature Christmas music, Hebrew psalms, and some gospel and R&B selections. Joining the Esprit Singers will be the marvelous soprano soloist Elena Howard-Scott and a small group of outstanding instrumentalists. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studio, I am joined by Valdine Anderson, who is the artistic director for the Esprit Singers. Hey, Valdine, it's nice to have you here.
Well, it's great to be here, Chris.
I first want to start out the conversation by asking about the name change. The Esprit Singers used to be called Esprit de Coeur. What made the group decide to change their name?
It was only just to simplify things. Often we had people who would search for us and think that Esprit de Coeur was a spirit of the heart. And it's very close. I think it's just maybe a one-letter difference, but we just thought, well, let's go with something just a little bit simpler. So Esprit Singers it is.
I've asked this before, but for our listeners who may not have heard, can you give us a little bit of background as to how the choir came about?
Oh, sure. It was just a group of my own voice students, and I have 4 daughters as well who love to sing, and we kind of combined for a little ensemble of 12 singers, and really enjoyed it. We went into the Winnipeg Music Festival, and that was our end goal, but they wanted to keep going, and it just kept growing, and we've been up to, at one point, 35 singers. We usually are around between 27 and 30 singers. And this year, I think we've got about, 27 singers in the choir.
Yeah, it's quite a roster. I had a quick look at the program for Saturday's concert, and it's quite a roster of singers. The concert is called And Suddenly. Where does the name of the concert come from? Is it the name of a piece?
It is the name of a piece. It's by Michael Engelhardt, and he's a fabulous composer from the States. He writes, he describes his music as a mixture of gospel and soul and ancient and future, and I love that because it's truly classical, but it's got a little bit of a I guess you could say gospel and some pop to it as well, but it's legit, I would say there's something for everybody in it, and it's fun. So we're doing 2 pieces by him. One's called Gaudete, and that one is for 4 percussionists and a cappella choir. And it's, I would say it's kind of an industrial sort of sounding, praise song, and it's fabulous. It's in Latin, and it just builds and builds and builds, and it's a lot of fun. So that's been something we've done before, but not for a long time, and we thought we would bring it back with his more recent work, And Suddenly, and that's just from the gospel, and suddenly the angel appeared. So, and that's really what the text is, and this is really gospel and funk and blues, and we've got Carl Kohat and Stephen Howes on percussion, Carl Kohat on bass, and it just grooves along. So it's going to be fun.
Sounds fantastic. One of the people that's going to be joining you on stage is Elena Howard-Scott. She's the daughter of Winnipeg composer David Scott. What can you tell us about her, and can you talk about the piece that she's going to be performing with the choir? Is it more than one, or what is she going to be performing?
Yeah, we're just delighted to have Elena sing with us. She is so busy and back and forth around the country, and she happens to be in Winnipeg right now doing a few things, and we were able to fit our concert into her schedule as well. She's going to perform Rejoice Greatly from Handel's Messiah, as well as a soprano solo from a traditional song, Mary Did You Know? So
nice. The concert is advertised as Esprit is going to be performing Christmas music and Hebrew psalms. Can you elaborate on what holiday music the choir is going to be singing? And I'm particularly intrigued by the Hebrew psalms portion. What psalms are you going to be singing, and whose setting of whose music is it?
Oh, we are so thrilled to be singing this little set. It's called a Psalm Trilogy, and it's by the Canadian composer, the late Canadian composer, Cyril Irving Glick. And it is Psalm 92, 47, and 23. And they're just exquisite, and they're written for piano and treble choir. But he's also made an arrangement for a string orchestra and choir as well. They're beautiful, and they work either way just fantastically. They're just evocative and truly a different sound world from any of the Christmas seasonal things that we're doing. And I just wanted to have that in the program, just to keep the perspective of the season, not just Christmas, but Festival of Lights, etc.
Hanukkah, etc. Yeah, Glick's a wonderful composer. So I know a lot of his instrumental music is inspired by sort of this klezmer sound. Are these psalm settings like that?
Not at all. No, they're... what would I say? They're reverent, really. They are deep and lyrical, and my singers, when they sing them, are just really astounded by just the beauty of them. They just are standalone, beautiful pieces, each alone or as a set. So we're happy to do them together, and I know the audience is going to find them just spellbinding.
Yeah. The choir, the Esprit Singers, is going to be joined by some fantastic instrumentalists as well. Can you talk about some of the extra musicians that are going to be performing with the choir on Saturday?
That's right. We've got, as I mentioned, 4 percussionists for Gaudete. So this is, again, one of those pieces where you have to make sure you do have 4 really good percussionists on hand to program a piece like this. And we've got 2 students of Victoria Sparks from the U of M, Helga Stoyanowski, Sage Helgeson Stoyanowski, and Nathan Gibbons from the U of M. We've got Stephen Howes, who's a frequent guest with Esprit, and we've got Cameron Denby, who's got a very busy performing schedule, but is luckily for us in town for this concert. So he's joining us for that as well.
And as always, are you going to be joined by your accompanist, Rachel Dick, as well?
Rachel Dick is performing throughout. So most of the program is featuring her as our collaborator.
It's going to be fantastic. You've touched on it earlier. There's going to be some gospel and R&B selections as well. Are they selections that tie into the holidays, or are they just there to sort of add some lightness and fun to the program?
Oh no, they are truly Christmas and seasonal December music. So they're just right for this, and I couldn't imagine really programming them for May or Valentine's or anything. So no, they're perfect for this. Mm-hmm.
One of the things I always wonder about as being a leader of an ensemble like the Esprit Singers, you're the artistic director and conductor. What do you look forward to when you're coming up to a rehearsal? Like, when you know that you've got a rehearsal coming down the line with the Esprit Singers, what do you look forward to the most?
That's a really neat question. I love my rehearsals because we always have some kind of musical concept to finesse or to share. I like showing or offering to the ensemble opportunities for them to really stretch and expand their creativity and expression, and hearing their satisfaction with how the effect is on being expressive, clear with the text, intentional with the message, and then as the process continues, as the music starts to really get into people's minds and bodies, and the singing becomes a little bit more fluent, people start to really, love the experience and look forward to it, and I do too. So
one of the things we were talking about off air was rooms and practice spaces, and so it sort of makes me wonder, where does the choir rehearse, and do you ever find that you've got to change, blend, or balance issues when you actually get into the venue that you are going to be performing in?
That's very interesting too. We rehearse at Westworth United Church. It's got a beautiful acoustics. So we are so lucky there. We know exactly what the concert's going to sound like because we're rehearsing in the performance space. But we have performed in other acoustics, and it's surprising. Some places are so vast and large, like Westminster or Knox, and I know that the sound is fantastic from the audience perspective, but often on stage, it feels like it doesn't really resonate right back to the singers, and it can be a little bit disconcerting. And you just have to trust that your sound is what it is, and is beautiful for the audience as you're trying to make it.
Mm-hmm. Valdine, the concert and Suddenly, as presented by the Esprit Singers, sounds like it's going to be just terrific this Saturday. I'll wrap up the conversation by asking where can people get more details and perhaps get tickets, and also how much are tickets?
Tickets are $30 for adults, $20 for students, and 12 and under are free. We've got a website, espritsingers.com. And we've got tickets available at Eventbrite and also at the door. So welcome to just come and pick up a ticket there. So it's rush seats. Get there early.
It's going to be fantastic. Valdine, this has just been so great to have you back in studio talking to us again. Thanks so much for taking the time to drop by and talk to me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
For our Classic 107 listeners, the Esprit Singers concert and Suddenly takes place this Saturday, December 2nd at 7 p.m. at Westworth United Church. For more details, visit classic107.com or espritsingers.com. Valdine, thanks again.